Mhm.
So if they could access the money that's making them 8% a year, and they can access it penalty and tax free and use that money to pay off the credit card debt that's costing them 20%, it's going to save them a ton of money. Plus, they're just paying themselves back the money they took out to pay off the credit card debt, right? So they're replenishing their retirement account so the account can keep going, right? They're not robbing from their future. So yeah, I mean, essentially they're their own bank, which, would you rather pay the bank the interest or pay yourself?
Let's have some fun.
They'll do it.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to take back ownership of your financial situation. So whether you're running out of money before you run out of month, or if you're just looking to scale your business to that next echelon, strap in, take notes. Daniel Blue is the founder and owner of Quest Education. He's a regular contributor to Forbes, and today Daniel's going to walk us through some of his secrets of how he rose from being an addict to now operating and running a 7-figure business today. So Daniel, tell the audience what I missed and why they should listen today.
What's up, Dustin? I think you just missed all my failures, and I think that's what's interesting about life. Right now, I'm reading a book that Will Smith wrote, and if you guys haven't read that book, it's a great book. It's basically just Will Smith talking about his whole life. And I did not know that Will Smith was the first person to win a hip hop Grammy. It was like 1987.
That's awesome.
When he was doing Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like his first time doing that, like he was broke.
Yeah.
He was in a really, really bad spot. Made $3 million as a kid, essentially when he, got his Grammy and was a hip hop artist, made a bunch of money, didn't pay any taxes on his money, owed a bunch of money in IRS debt, spent a bunch of money. But that's what's interesting about successful people, right? And I'm certainly, I don't categorize myself there just yet. I'm a work in progress, but we all have failures and adversity that we've gone through, and it's just really cool hearing about other people overcoming that because we all got to deal with it.
Yep, that's awesome. And of course, talk about the failure that Will Smith is. He's coming out with the new Bel Air edition. I think it hits the TV here pretty soon. But so talking about failures again, Daniel. One thing I personally failed to mention is your Amazon best-selling book, Blueprint to Your Best Retirement. Now, before everyone goes out there and buys the book, at a high level, I mean, what are people getting wrong today about retirement?
I think the biggest myth out there, Dustin, is people think that their IRA, their 401k, because their mom and grandpa and neighbors have told them, like, that money is for retirement. Like, don't ever touch that money.
Yeah.
That money is there for when you retire and get old.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a myth. People actually can access their money now. And a lot of the fear behind it is, hey, don't touch your money because you're going to pay penalties and taxes, which is true in a lot of cases. And it's a lot of money that you have to pay in penalties and taxes. We're talking like 30%. So I get the narrative there. Like, why would you take out $10,000 from your IRA and give the government $3,000 if you don't have to, right? But I get that. However, there are some IRS approved ways for entrepreneurs specifically. If you are an entrepreneur, for you to access your retirement money now in a penalty and tax-free way and use that money how you want. Maybe you want to use it to fund your business so you can break free from your 9-to-5 job, or maybe you could use some additional capital to scale your business. Or maybe you have some high interest rate credit card debt that's stressing you out. Like, you can control your own retirement account. So being able to help people understand some of these strategies, that's what I talk a lot about in the book. That's what we do with my company, is providing people education and teaching them things that they're not going to hear from their CPAs and financial advisors.
That's awesome. I mean, and I'm sure the audience would love to dig in more. I mean, at Quest Education and things that you're doing with your clients. I mean, how do people do it? Because again, I mean, I could take the money, like you said, I'm going to get hit with the tax, but how can you do that tax free? I mean, how can you do that in a way to shield yourself from getting those big penalties?
Yeah, so there's this retirement plan. It's called a solo 401k. It's been around for decades. It's a retirement account specifically for an entrepreneur who doesn't have any W-2 employees in the picture. Hence the name solo 401k.
Right.
And so maybe if you're a consultant, maybe you get 1099 income as a real estate agent. Maybe you have an online business, freelancer, right? Like, if you fit this box, then you qualify for solo 401k. Again, as long as there's no W-2 employees.
Okay.
You got this 401k from your old job or your IRA, and you're like, shoot, I wish I could access this bad boy penalty and tax free. Well, there's a way for you to take that account and convert it into a solo 401k. And from the solo 401k, you can take a certain amount of money out, penalty and tax free, and use that money to, like I said earlier, fund your business,
Okay.
pay off high interest rate credit card debt, or maybe you want to use the money to invest outside the stock market. Maybe you like real estate, for example. So a lot of different options.
Now, I mean, so is it possible to double dip? Like I said, I know I was for freelancers, everything, but what if I do have a W-2 job, but I've got a side gig on the side where I do some freelance consulting. I'm a photographer, I cut hair, whatever the case is. Can I also do the solo 401k, or does it have to be no W-2 at all?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get nerdy here for a second,
Let's do it, my
Dustin.
friend.
So like for the people driving right now, like just bear with me. Don't crash your car. 'Cause I'm gonna put you to sleep. So I'll try not to get too nerdy for too long. But basically, like let's just say you work for
Mhm.
FedEx and you have a 401k there, but you have this side business, but you left UPS, right? Like you have a 401k from your old job
Okay.
from UPS, and you got this side business. Well, you can take that 401k from your old job, move it into a solo 401k, and now you have a solo 401k, but then you also have your 401k with FedEx, for example.
Okay.
That flies. You can do that. Where I'm going to get nerdy next is you can't max out contributions. You can't add new money to the solo 401k and the 401k in terms of maxing out both of them.
Okay.
Altogether, the most that you can contribute as far as new dollars contributing is right about $58,000 per year. So you can't take 58,000 and put it into your solo 401k and then max out the 401k with your day job. IRS won't let you do that. You can take 50,000 or 100,000 or 500,000 that you have in your IRA or your 401k from your old job, and then convert it into your solo 401k. You can do that all day long, even if you have a day job, as long as you have that side business, that entrepreneurial activity going on behind the scenes.
Gotcha. And I mean, I think that's huge. I mean, because there are so many, I mean, the gig economy as we know it today, it's not just Uber, it's not just Lyft. I mean, there's so many more people, jumping into that gig economy, so to speak. I mean, it's going to be millions of people. It already is millions of people. And it's going to grow, I think, by additional 5 million people been here in the next couple of years. So, I mean, there's obviously people out there that are looking for extra income. Now we just need to shield it. So once I roll things over to that solo 401k, how can I access it? I mean, like I said, I mean, you could pull money out to pay all these things, but do I get hit with penalties every time I do that?
No, so there's really basically two ways to deploy the money once the money's in the solo 401k. So there's really two ways. Pretend your solo 401k is in your back pocket.
Okay.
There's two ways to access that money. One, you can use the loan feature on the plan. And basically the loan feature states that you can take out 50% of the account value or 50,000, whichever number is less. You can take that money out penalty and tax free and use it however you want. You can pay off personal high interest rate credit card debt. You can fund your business. IRS doesn't care how you use your money. They just care that within 5 years, you're going to pay the money back to your solo 401k. So when you use the loan feature, it's called the loan feature for a reason. You've got to pay it back within 5 years to avoid the penalties and taxes.
Okay.
IRS makes you treat it like a loan. There's actually an interest rate. Interest rate is usually about prime plus 1 to 2 points. So right now, when we're talking to customers, we're letting them know, hey, look, if you utilize the loan feature, you're going to lock in an interest rate of about 5.25%. It's fixed. The cool part, Dustin, is that interest goes back to their retirement account. So they're their own bank and they get the interest. So if interest isn't going to the IRS, it's not going to the banks, they get the interest. So that's the first way to take money out of their back pocket. The back pocket is their solo 401k. That's the first way for them to access their own money. The second way to do it is just by using the account to invest into something. Like when you have your IRA or your 401k with Fidelity or whoever holds your money, and you buy Apple stock or you buy a mutual fund, you're not paying penalties and taxes, right? Like your retirement account owns Apple stock. Because that investment is held inside the retirement account, there's no taxable event, right? There's no penalties, there's no taxes. Same thing with the solo 401k. The only difference with the solo 401ks that we help people set up is they can invest outside the stock market. Maybe they want to invest into crypto. Maybe they want to invest into flipping, real estate out in Ohio, or private lending, or promissory notes, or precious metals. Basically, the self-directed solo 401k that we help people set up, it can invest their money in a lot of different places beyond just traditional stock mutual funds.
So I mean, really, I mean, that sounds phenomenal. I mean, because so I mean now it's not just I'm investing into whatever S&P fund that my 401k at my business has. I mean, I could pull this money out to invest in, like I said, crypto. I could do it for rental real estate, whatever that may be. I mean, so is that right? I mean, I could literally
Yeah.
use this money for essentially just about anything as long as I pay it back within 5 years.
Yeah, so we're gonna get nerdy here for just a couple seconds.
Yeah.
If you use the loan feature on the solo 401k, you don't have to worry about what's called prohibited transactions. If
Okay.
you're using your solo 401k and you're gonna use it not with the loan feature, but like actually have the solo 401k invest directly into the asset where it's not a loan,
Okay.
then you have to be aware of prohibited transactions. If you Google IRS prohibited transactions, it'll tell you what I'm going to kind of paraphrase next. But basically, if your solo 401k is invested into a property, you
Mhm.
can't live in it.
Okay.
You can't rent it out to your mom, right? So there's these certain prohibited transactions that you have to be aware of to make sure that you're not going to get in trouble with the IRS.
Okay. I mean, really, that kind of makes sense. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, it can't be my own home. It has to be a investment. It has to be a rental property, so to speep.
There's got to be
Um,
some arm's length distance. Yeah.
yeah. Okay. And again, I think that kind of goes back to against when you set up these LLCs, when you set the solopreneurs, or those kind of thing. I mean, there has to be a difference between here's Dustin, here's Dustin's business. There has to be that divide. I mean, that's phenomenal. It sounds like almost, and as much as we love to hate banks, it almost sounds like you're becoming essentially your own bank. Is that maybe a good way to put it?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a term that applies here because we talk to a lot of people, Dustin, where they owe $20,000 in credit card debt to Discover or American Express, and they're paying 20% interest. And that same person has a retirement account that's making them 8% a year.
Okay.
Well, if they're making 8% a year on their retirement account, but they're losing 20% on their debt, they're losing money faster than they're making money, more than likely.
Hmm.
So if they could access the money that's making them 8% a year, and they can access it penalty and tax free and use that money to pay off the credit card that's costing them 20%, it's going to save them a ton of money. Plus, they're just paying themselves back the money they took out to pay off the credit card debt, right? So they're replenishing their retirement account so the account can keep growing, right? They're not robbing from their future. So yeah, I mean, essentially they're their own bank, which would you rather pay the banks the interest or pay yourself?
And like you said too, I mean, there is essentially a set interest rate too. So it's not just you're paying back that $50,000 or 10,000, whatever you pull out. You're paying back $10,000 plus interest, right? So now you're
Exactly.
putting more money back into your retirement.
Exactly.
Oh, this is amazing. This is really awesome. So I guess, and then it really depend upon now. Are all solo 401ks, are they all tax free? I mean, that way when I turn 65 or when I eventually want to retire and pull the money out, is it always tax free, or is that depending upon how you structure it as well, like a Roth IRA or whatever?
Yeah. So that's completely dependent on how you structure it, right? A lot of
Okay.
people make the mistake, just comes down to financial literacy, right? Because in school they would rather teach us about, 3.14 pi squared. I,
Mm.
butchered that than like real shit, like credit scores and retirement accounts, right? But like a lot of people make the mistake that they think the Roth is a retirement account.
Okay.
Like the Roth isn't a retirement account. The Roth is just how the money is taxed, right? So your solo 401k with us, like you just alluded to, Dustin, it can be Roth or it can be pre-tax.
Mm.
The 401k you have at your day job, it can be Roth or pre-tax. The IRA you have with Edward Jones, it could be Roth, it could be pre-tax. Why does that matter to you? Well,
Mm.
it matters because if it's Roth, then the money you put in, the money you contributed, you claimed as income. You paid taxes on that money, but it grows 100% tax free. That's massive, right? Like, would you rather pay taxes on the money that's the seed, or pay taxes on the harvest, right? If you put $20,000 into a Roth IRA or Roth 401k over a period of time, and that 20,000 grew to 100,000, that 100,000 is now 100% tax free. That's massive, right? On the opposite end, if it's a pre-tax IRA or a pre-tax 401k, and you stuck in $20,000 over a period of time,
Mm.
that 20,000 you write off, right? It's a tax deduction, so you get some immediate savings. However, if that 20,000 grew to 100,000, like you mentioned earlier, Dustin, when you pull that money out, you will be taxed on it. So it's the Roth is a great way to go.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it really depends. I feel like, depending on who you talk to, they're going to tell you, when you retire, you'll have less income because you'll be retired, right? So then it's always best to do Roth. Then others will tell you, like, well, no, you're going to accrue all these things in the long run, these different streams of income. And I know you can't give specific advice to every single individual. Do you feel like people should mainly focus on the Roth, on the traditional? I mean, when do I know which one works best for me in my situation?
I mean, I just looked at patterns
Yeah.
and, there's this really cool story about Ronald Reagan. It's cool and scary. At one point, Ronald Reagan, right, he's a movie star. And a lot of people don't remember that, right? Like Ronald Reagan, one of the best presidents ever, but he's a movie star. And at one point, he only filmed one movie a year.
Okay.
Why? Because if he filmed another movie, he really wouldn't even make money because the tax bracket was so high.
Yeah.
So like Google USA tax brackets
Yeah.
and you'll see some crazy shit like 1950s, 1960s, tax brackets 60, 70%.
Yeah.
Dude, people are complaining about taxes now. Like it's nothing compared to where it's been, right? Could you imagine paying 60% tax bracket, 70%, right? So that's where we've been before. I am not a financial advisor. I'm not an economist. I didn't go to Yale, so don't listen to me what I'm going to say next. But I just have an opinion that taxes are probably not going down. And everyone has seen all the money the government has printed, right? Like the amount of money the government has printed over COVID is massive, right? Like just massive. Where else do you think they're going to? I mean, they just gave all these people, all these businesses free money. It's not free though. Well, how are they going to make their money back? Right? Well, all the government has to do is press a button. All right, let's raise our revenue. We're a business. We need to make more money. Let's bring the taxes up. So I know I'm going on a tangent, but I think you got to ask yourself that question. Like, do you think taxes are going to go up? And if you do, it might be an idea worth looking into paying taxes now. We're looking at the tax bracket now.
Ladies and gentlemen, I really hope you enjoyed part 1 of my talk with Daniel Blue. Let me tell you, you're not going to want to miss part 2. So check out the link down in the description, or if you're watching this on video, got a little picture up there in the top right. Be awesome. Best wishes.